What if I told you that scientists just figured out how to basically give an animal a cheat code for growing back its own body parts, and not just a tail or a fin? We are talking legs, arms, parts of its heart, parts of its brain. Oh, and this creature does it perfectly, like no scars, no weird lumpy replacement, just a brand new, fully working, good as new body part. And it takes a few weeks. Meet the axolotl, and buckle up because what scientists just discovered about this little guy might change medicine forever. Okay, so first things first. What even is an axolotl? It looks like someone crossed a salamander with a tiny dragon and then gave it feathery pink wings on its head. Those feathery things are actually its gills. It breathes through them. It lives in water. It is a type of salamander, technically, but here is the wild part. It never really grows up. Most salamanders go through a transformation kind of like a tadpole becoming a frog. But the axolotl just stays in its baby form forever. Scientists call this neoteny. It basically means the axolotl hits pause on growing up and just stays young and aquatic its entire life. Already weird, already incredible, but the regeneration thing is where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. Here is your first fact that is going to make your brain short-circuit. An axolotl can regrow a lost limb in about 3 to 8 weeks. But the crazy part is not the speed. The crazy part is the quality. When you or I get a cut, our body patches it up with scar tissue. That is why scars look different from regular skin. The body is basically doing emergency repairs with whatever material it has lying around. The axolotl does not do that. It grows back the exact same tissue. Bone, muscle, nerves, blood vessels, skin, all of it, in the right order, in the right place, like it is following a blueprint. Scientists have been scratching their heads over this for over a century. And now, finally, we're starting to get some real answers. So here is what the new research found. And this is the part that made scientists actually jump out of their chairs. When an axolotl loses a limb, the cells right at the wound do something that almost no other animal on Earth can do. They go backwards. Like, they basically forget what they were. A muscle cell stops being a muscle cell. A skin cell stops being a skin cell. They revert back to this earlier, more basic state. Scientists call these reverted cells blastema cells, and that blob of reverted cells is called a blastema. It looks like a little bump at the end of the wound, but inside that tiny bump is basically a living 3D printer for body parts. Here is surprising fact number 2, and this one is genuinely wild. The blastema cells somehow know exactly what is missing. If you cut off the axolotl's arm right at the elbow, the blastema builds everything from the elbow down. If you cut it higher up, closer to the shoulder, it builds more. It does not just start growing randomly and hope for the best. It takes stock of what is gone and builds precisely that. How does it know? That is exactly what scientists have been trying to figure out. And the new discovery gives us a huge clue. Researchers found a specific set of signals that the blastema cells use to talk to each other. Think of it like a construction crew that has walkie-talkies. Each cell is broadcasting its location. It is saying, "Hey, I am on the left side," or "Hey, I am close to the body," or "Hey, I am near the tip," and the cells use those signals to figure out the full map of what needs to be built. Scientists identified the specific genes that run this communication system, and the moment they figured that out, everything changed. Because here is the thing, humans have some of those same genes, we just do not use them the same way. Our bodies switched them off a long time ago in our evolutionary history. So the question became, could you switch them back on? Could you take those axolotl regeneration signals and use them in human cells? That is the direction science is now racing toward. And while we are not there yet for humans, the early experiments are genuinely shocking. Surprising fact number 3. Scientists took axolotl regeneration genes and introduced them into mammal cells in a lab setting. And those mammal cells started behaving differently. They started showing early signs of the same kind of reversion process, the same blastema-like behavior in mammal cells. That had never happened before. It is like finding out you have a hidden superpower button that nobody knew existed. Now, here is another fact that is going to make you do a double take. Axolotls can regrow parts of their heart, and their spinal cord, and even parts of their brain. If an axolotl has a section of its brain removed, it can actually regenerate functional brain tissue. Not perfectly in every single case, and scientists are still studying the limits of this. But the fact that it happens at all is extraordinary. No other vertebrate animal does this. A vertebrate is any animal with a backbone, by the way. So we are talking about a group that includes fish, reptiles, birds, mammals, and us. And in that entire group, the axolotl is basically in a category by itself. Here is the fifth surprising fact, and this one might be the most unexpected of all. The axolotl is critically endangered in the wild. This animal, with the most remarkable biological ability on the planet, this creature that could hold the key to human regenerative medicine, exists in the wild in exactly one place. A lake system near Mexico City called Lake Xochimilco. And that lake system has been shrinking and getting polluted for decades. In the wild, axolotls are genuinely on the edge of disappearing. Fortunately, there are thousands of them in labs, and they breed pretty well in captivity. But the irony is enormous. The one animal that could teach us how to regrow human hearts and limbs is itself fighting to survive. Scientists working on axolotl research are now some of the most intense advocates for protecting this species. Because losing the axolotl would not just be a tragedy for the animal, it would be a tragedy for all of us. So where does this research go from here? Right now, the focus is on understanding the full map of signals involved in regeneration. It is incredibly complex. There are hundreds of genes involved, and they all have to work together in a very specific sequence. Getting that sequence right is the challenge, but progress is happening faster than anyone expected. Some researchers believe that within our lifetime, doctors might be able to use what we learn from axolotls to help humans regrow damaged heart tissue after a heart attack, or help people with spinal cord injuries regain function, or even, one day, help someone regrow a lost finger. That sounds like science fiction. But a few years ago, finding the exact genes that run the axolotl regeneration system sounded like science fiction too. And then scientists actually did it. There is something amazing about the idea that a small, goofy-looking, feathery-gilled amphibian living in a shrinking lake in Mexico might hold the secret to one of the biggest medical breakthroughs in human history. Nature has been quietly running experiments for millions of years, and the axolotl figured something out that we are only just beginning to understand. Every time a scientist looks more closely at this creature, they find another layer of incredible, another piece of the puzzle, another reason to be astonished that this animal exists at all. The axolotl has been around for millions of years, quietly regrowing its limbs, quietly carrying around this extraordinary biological toolkit, and only now, in the last few years, are we finally starting to read the instruction manual. So here is the question I want you to think about and drop in the comments, because I genuinely want to know what you think. If scientists figure out how to use axolotl regeneration in humans, what is the first body part you think they should focus on helping people regrow? A limb, heart tissue, spinal cord, something else entirely? Tell me below. This is the kind of science where your generation might actually see it happen. How cool is that?